Hi everyone, I hope you're doing good. Just very quickly before the video starts, I wanted to say thank you to those people who wanted to come and share their stories so far. I really appreciate it. I think it's great what you're doing, so thank you so much. I really believe that people watching these videos might be able to recognize some of the symptoms that you've shared with your stories and be able to relate to them. So I'm hoping that the videos will just be able to help let people know that other people go through similar things, and if they do go through certain symptoms, what they've done, and it just creates awareness of our disease and how we cope with it. So thank you so much to those people already. Also, I just want to apologize for the audio at the very, very beginning of the video because it's not the best. I'm still working on what could be the best system to use. I'm currently using Skype, so if anybody's got any better solutions out there for me, then let me know. So I have somebody else sharing their story today. His name is Jay, and I hope that you find his video as inspirational and as informative as I did. I really enjoyed making the video of Jay. So I'm basically going to stop talking now and actually let you get on and watch the video. I hope you all enjoy it and catch you soon. Bye.
Hi everyone, I have my second lovely volunteer today. His name is Jay, all the way from Bay City, Michigan, and I'm so pleased that he's here with me today sharing his story with MS. Hi Jay, how are you?
Hi Laura, how you doing?
I'm really good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
Thanks so much for coming here today and sharing your story.
Yeah, no problem.
So I just want to start off by asking you about your MS really, and you can start off by telling us when you were diagnosed, I guess. When did it all start for you?
So I started developing symptoms early on. I was initially diagnosed in April of 2020 during the COVID pandemic when it was just starting here in the United States. But before that, I had started having symptoms about 2 years before. And what I was having was the whole right side of my body just went like numb and tingly, like a buzzing sensation.
Yeah.
And at that time I had went to the hospital and the doctors, they couldn't figure nothing out. And they didn't want to do an MRI because insurance reasons and all that stuff at that time. So they said, I'll go to the chiropractor and, we'll go from there. So I went to the chiropractor, and after a couple days, I felt better. So we just figured it was a pinched nerve at the time, which later on I found out it was multiple sclerosis.
Right. Okay.
So in April of 2010, I had a very physically demanding job. And what I did was I went out and I worked hard the day before, and it was a Thursday. I woke up on Friday morning, and from the middle of my abdomen down, I was numb. Didn't have a lot of use of my legs. So I went to the hospital, and once again, they told me it was a pinched nerve. And they did an x-ray and said that. And what they ended up doing was I went to the chiropractor, and the chiropractor, became a friend of mine now, he ended up saying, I think you have something a little worse going on. I said, really? And he says, at the time, he thought it was Guillain-Barré or Guillain-Barré's disease.
Yeah.
And he sent me to the hospital. I went to a different hospital, which is a teaching hospital in our area, University of Michigan. And he said, I'll call them and tell them you're on your way. A half hour after getting there, I was in an MRI tube, and they did, a full range of MRIs from my pelvis all the way to my brain. And I have scattered lesions from my brain. I have them in my cerebellum, and I have them in my spine. And, it was a lot to take in at the time. My dad had MS, and then I saw he had primary progressive.
Right.
And
Okay. So when you found that when you found out your diagnosis, how were you feeling? Because obviously your dad had had it. And did that make you feel a certain way? Did you feel scared? Did you feel worried about your diagnosis?
I was very scared because I watched how fast my dad's MS progressed once he got diagnosed. And that was really tough for me. And especially, this was during the pandemic, so my wife could not come into the hospital with me. So I was by myself, and everything was through telemedicine calls and stuff like that. It was tough to take in. And they did 3 days of Salumedrol, which is a steroid. And I was able to regain, most of my use of my legs. And, I had to learn how to walk normal again. I never lost the ability to walk.
Yeah, but was it
you
just a weakness type
no,
thing, or?
I never had weakness. It was just like to learn how to fire your nerves the correct way again.
Right.
Instead of putting the left foot in front of the right to walk, I wanted to put my right foot in front of my left to walk. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, do get that? Yeah. So, that's going through the MS with the pandemic. The pandemic in itself is already a stressful situation. You're working, take it, all through the pandemic. How did that affect your work? Because obviously your stress levels are high at this time. Going into these hospital appointments on your own and everything like that, that must have been really difficult as well. That must have been a really difficult time for you.
It was very difficult. And then, I was at top of the world. I thought that I had my dream job at the time, and I was doing very well. I'm in my early 30s at the time of diagnosis. And, me and my wife, we had just got married 4 years before. Things were going great. Our life was excellent. And then it just felt like I got hit with a baseball bat in the mouth. It's like, oh, you have multiple sclerosis. It's like, wow.
Did you?
I thought, go ahead.
Sorry. No, you go ahead.
I thought that my life was over. I went through a lot of depression my first couple months. And I got better once I got out of the hospital, learning how to walk again. But I developed what they call, now I know it's the MS hug.
Yeah.
And it is the most horrible thing I have ever dealt with in my life.
For anybody out there who might not know what the MS hug is, can you explain it to them? I know everybody might be slightly different, but can you explain what you experienced with your MS hug?
So what it was is I thought, because of the steroids that they had given me, and my family doctor, he said he thinks it was retention of water after the steroids, because they give you a high dose of steroids when you're in the hospital to get your flare up to come down. Well, he put me on, it was a water pill. I can't remember the name of it off the top of my head, but he put me on a water pill, and I had lost so much water that I ended up getting dizzy and passing out. And that prompted another, visit to the emergency room, which was not fun.
Yeah.
So, and after that, I got in touch with a neurologist in my local area instead of going to that teaching hospital, U of M. I go to a neurologist in Saginaw, Michigan now. And she says, well, yeah, what you're experiencing is the MS hug. And I said, okay, we've read about it. But so what it is when your nerves have damage, and it creates like a pressure, almost like the worst pressure you could ever imagine, like a boa constrictor going around. And mine wasn't my chest. Mine was like from the middle of my abdomen down around my groin and then into my right leg. And it was unbearable. I went to the emergency room several times to try and just get relief. I didn't know what it was.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a scary thing when you have it, because unless you know what it is, you're wondering what's happening to your body, and
Right.
nobody, like you said, if no, you don't know what's happening, no one's explaining, and this thing's happening, and it feels like this huge tight elastic band around your waist, and it doesn't let go. And
No.
sometimes they give you steroids, but the steroids don't always dampen
No.
down that inflammation, or it takes a long, long time for the inflammation to dampen it down.
Hmm. And they did. So what ended up happening with the MS hug was with going to the new neurologist. She is a MS specialist in my area. Um, she put me on. At first, they had me on gabapentin because they thought it was nerve pain,
Yeah,
and they ended up taking me off of gabapentin because the side effects were just. I'm a driver for a living. I drive a fuel truck for a living. And I just couldn't go into work dizzy and not focused. And I was having a lot of brain fog with that. And I was like, I got to do something different, you know?
yeah, yeah.
So they ended
They
up getting on,
they switch you over to something different that agreed with you. Because as
yeah,
you said, being a driver, it's very important that you have to keep your concentration and feel okay with that.
yeah. And at the time I was hauling propane, and now I've switched to hauling gasoline and diesel and jet fuel. So it's, I got to have my concentration.
I can imagine that's a difficult job, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm here to tell you, you know, like I said, I thought my life was over, but
Yeah,
I'm living it. I have multiple sclerosis and I have spasticity in my legs now.
yeah.
You can do great things. 6 months ago, I thought my life was over. I thought I was going to have to be on disability and I was going to lose everything that I had worked for. But with the help of doctors, I've I made it, and I'm going to
That,
continue. I'm
that's
living my.
so good. So good to hear. I was going to come on to that to ask you how you've coped with it, what's helped you, what are the kind of things that's actually helped you get you through that period? Because it's not quite been a year, has it, that you've been diagnosed? But what are the positives that you found from your situation?
So the number one thing that helps me is keeping my stress level down.
Yeah,
Um, I've always been an anxious person, and I've always had, even when I was younger in my 20s, I had anxiety attacks all the time. I constantly worry and overthink things. Just that was the way I was wired back then, you
yeah,
know. And now that I learn more and talking to more doctors and stuff, they say, that's a very big symptom of multiple sclerosis.
yeah.
And, you know, the more I read and educate myself, it is a lot of people do suffer from anxiety and brain fog and aphasia and stuff like that. And I've had all of the above, Um, but
So do you do, excuse me, sorry for interrupting. Do you do things to help manage your stress levels and your anxiety? Is there anything that you do, like meditation or anything like that?
it's not so much meditation. It's just doing stuff basically that calms me down, stuff I like to do.
Yeah.
In the garage and doing work on, I have toys, pontoons, motorcycles, stuff like that I like to work on. So
So
that kind
your
of,
mind occupied and maybe being aware of your stress and steering clear from it, steering away from things that keep you stressed and anxious.
yeah. So I'll just, I will try and stop myself sometimes and be like, hey, I need to take a step back and I need to relax for a few minutes. And that's fine because that's how I manage it. Um, they have put me on two disease modifying treatments now.
Okay.
And the first one was the infusion, which was Tysabri. And I ended up not like wimping out, but I mean, I read the list of side effects, and PML is a big side effect with Tysabri. And after reading the brochures and having the blood test, I told my neurologist, I don't want to go on this drug. It's very risky. And she says, okay, that's fine. Whatever you want your treatment to be, that's fine. Because in number one, too, I couldn't go and sit in a hospital infusion clinic once a month because I worked a very erratic schedule. I was on call for work quite a bit. And just trying to get there every 28 days was going to be a hassle for me. So I wanted to go on a pill form of disease-modifying drugs. So she ended up prescribing me what was called Vumerity. And I took my first pill of Vumerity, felt fine. The next morning, I took my second pill, and I broke out in a rash, and I went into anaphylactic shock.
Right, okay, not so good.
No. So my wife ended up rushing me to the emergency room. They hit me with a whole bunch of Benadryl and steroids, and I was home a couple hours later. And my neurologist was like, yeah, don't take that drug again.
Yeah, definitely not.
Right.
So was that a disease modifying drug as well?
Yeah.
The second one that you reacted to badly?
Yeah,
and
it's on the market.
And I'd not heard of that one actually. So what's the plan now? What are you on now then? And sorry, just before you answer that, what I completely forgot to ask you, what MS were you diagnosed with?
Oh, relapsing remitting multiple sclerosis.
Okay.
And I have now I have a residual spasticity in my right leg, and I do have a little bit of brain fog, and like sometimes I'll catch myself searching for words when I'm in a stressful situation.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's calmed down quite a bit since I've learned just to manage, my MS.
You're MS. So just going back on, so are you on a disease modifying drug now?
Right now, I am not, because I switched from hauling propane and I went to hauling gasoline and diesel. And so in the States, there's a waiting period for new insurances, which is with mine, it's 60 days. So my neurologist said, well, you're fine, to not be on a disease modifying drug, because it's stressful going into those situations. I had a lot of stress when I switched jobs, but now it's a lot less stress on me in my new job. I'm not working as hard, but I'm getting paid for what I know now instead of what I'm doing physically, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So how do you feel about that? How do you feel about obviously having your diagnosis? You're very early on in your diagnosis stage, but how do you feel about not having any disease modifying medication? Are you quite happy to just be as you are and to try and manage it as you are, or are you looking to go on to disease modifying drugs in the future?
The biggest thing is that I do want to get on a disease modifying drug that can help me. I want to work as long as I can. I don't want to go into secondary progressive. I'm going to live my life and not my diagnosis. I'm not going to let multiple sclerosis stop me from doing anything I want to do. I'm going to put my foot down and say, when I'm tired, but I'm not going to let it run my life. It hasn't so far. When I initially got diagnosed, they wanted me to take 6 weeks off work and learn how to walk correctly again. Well, I learned how to walk correctly again by myself.
That's
I didn't
amazing.
go to.
You are so, you haven't been diagnosed a year yet, but I feel like you've got such a positive attitude towards it. Especially where you were, where you said that you really felt like life was quite bad when you got diagnosed, and you've come all this way pretty much by yourself, and you should be so proud of that.
Well, I have a choice, because at the time in the States, everything was shut down and they weren't letting you do therapy or doctor's appointments. And the thing that really got me, Laura, is my dad got diagnosed with primary progressive multiple sclerosis late in life.
Yeah.
Uh, he was in his 50s when he got diagnosed. And he went on a disease-modifying drug, which was Ocrevus,
Yeah.
or oclarizumab, I think is another name for it. I don't know what you guys go by for over there with it. But he got onto that disease-modifying drug, and his attitude was, I have MS, and he had heart troubles, and he had just retired from General Motors. And it really bothered me to see my dad, who was such a very active man, stopped in his tracks. In MS, it was a mindset. Number one, he could still get up and walk. We still golfed every week together, you know. But I just watched how fast he deteriorated.
Yeah. Yeah.
I don't want to be that person.
I know.
I love my dad. I miss my dad to death. But I do not want to let, I'm only in my 30s. He was in his 50s. You know, he died at 2 years ago. I don't want to let multiple sclerosis run my life.
Yeah. I know it's such a hard thing. And I want to possibly in the future maybe do a bit about the hereditary part of MS, because your dad had it, my granddad had it, and I know so many people's sisters have it, mothers and their sons have it, and there's such a coincidence there, isn't there? And I do get what you mean about your dad and watching the people that you love have it, because it's hard, isn't it? It's really, really hard. But I
Yeah.
think your dad would be so proud of you and the mindset that you have and the way that you're positive thinking about this, you know, and you're doing everything in the right way. I think you really are.
Right. And well, not only, so to get into a little bit of the hereditary stuff, there's two uncles in my family who have a gene mutation it's called late onset Sandhoff's disease. There's only 5 people in the United States who have late onset Sandhoff's disease. Sorry, it's hard to say. um,
Sandhoff.
and 2 of them are my uncles.
Yeah.
And once you get diagnosed with it, you usually get diagnosed with it at birth, and it's a
Mm-hmm.
gene mutation, and it mimics ALS. So my uncles, Bruce and Rich, they actually got diagnosed late in life, in their, later in their life, in their 30s. They were both very active gentlemen, and they ended up being diagnosed later in life, and they're still alive. And like a lot of their symptoms, I don't know a lot about it because that's not something we sit and talk about over the dinner table.
Yeah.
But a lot of their symptoms to me seem like it mimics multiple sclerosis.
Mm.
But theirs is a progressive disease, and where multiple sclerosis, there's disease modifying drugs for it. There's really nothing for their late onset Sandhoff's.
Yeah. I I know it's really strange, isn't it? It's like multiple sclerosis has these different stages. Like I know people that have benign MS, and then you have remitting relapse, and then secondary, then progressive.
Yeah.
And I just wonder whether it kind of goes into stages. But when does it go into stages? Is there a point where you can catch it before it goes into that secondary stage? And the only thing that I do know about disease modifying drugs is that the quicker you catch that remitting relapsing stage at the early stage with the disease modifying drugs, the better chance you've got of your disease going into remission.
Right. And that's where I'm at right now, because with being a driver, we have to carry something that's called a DOT card, Department of Transportation medical card.
Yeah.
And if you go to secondary progressive multiple sclerosis, you cannot drive no more. They won't approve you for that card. So
Yeah.
I've been very worried about that being a driver, because that's my livelihood. That's all I've ever done.
Yeah.
you
You
know,
seem quite passionate about it as well. Like, you enjoy doing it.
yeah,
And
it's my too. I mean, it's afforded me and my wife a very good life, living. And honestly, I don't know what else I would do if I didn't drive. You know what I mean? Um, it's not necessary. I don't just sit behind a wheel and eat snacks and drink pop all day. No, I drive from the refinery to
although
gas.
that, although those are good parts of it.
I mean, I need to watch my weight, and especially now that I'm not as physically active in my new job. But it's definitely a mindset that I have to put going forward, because before it was like, oh yeah, sure, we can eat McDonald's all day, and I didn't gain no weight. But now I'm sitting a lot more, and and I need to watch what I'm eating for sure.
I think, yeah, because diet does have, well, scientifically they haven't proved it, but diet does have a big part to play.
And
Sorry.
and I can speak a lot to that, because if I eat something that is like high in sodium, it definitely will flare up my MS hug. I can feel my MS hug coming on, and I feel miserable after I eat something like that, and especially stuff with a lot of wheat in it,
Yeah,
or gluten, you know.
it is. I mean, well, I suppose they say you are what you eat, kind of thing, and I guess that in a way that is true.
Right.
Like, I have such a sweet tooth, and if I eat a lot of sweets, I feel my fatigue levels are really, really bad. If I steer clear of refined sugars and things like that, my fatigue levels are a lot better. So it's just managing it, but also you have to give yourself a bit of give and take, because otherwise, if we just wipe out everything that we ever enjoy, it would be quite a miserable existence, wouldn't it? I
It will.
think. But I mean, so kind of coming to the end of this discussion, and I think I could talk to you forever, to be honest, because everybody's story is so interesting, and I'm sure you've got so much more to say.
Yeah.
But if there was a bit of advice that you could give anybody going through MS, whether they're newly diagnosed or whether they've been diagnosed for years but still struggling with the terms of being diagnosed with MS, what kind of advice would you give somebody? What advice would you give them to help them along their journey with their MS?
I guess the biggest thing is reach out. If you need help with something and you're struggling with something, find somebody you can talk to. The biggest thing with multiple sclerosis is you feel sheltered from society, because a lot of people don't know even what MS is. My friends, they're like, oh yeah, okay, you take a pill, you get better in a couple weeks. It's like, it doesn't go that way. If you reach out and get the help, the therapy you need, talk to somebody, family, friends, educate them on what multiple sclerosis is, it helps a lot.
Yeah.
Get the right team of doctors. Aaron Boster here in the United States is awesome information. Check out his YouTube channel. He's
He
helped
is.
me. I found you on YouTube when I first got diagnosed, because I was searching for answers. I didn't know where to go or what to do or who to talk to. And not only that, live your life, because you only have one life to live. Make sure you get out there and you do the things you want to do while you're able to still do them, because we don't know where multiple sclerosis is going to take us ever. It changes day to day. And that's the biggest factor for some people, is that I don't know if they waited too long, but they didn't take it seriously. And yes, you have good days and bad days, but once you get to the all bad days, you seem to forget where multiple sclerosis has taken you and the journey that it takes you on. Honestly, I used to be a lot more sheltered and not outgoing, but now that I've been diagnosed with a disease that could potentially put me in a wheelchair, a year down the road, or I could stay. If I stayed where I'm at right now, honestly, I feel like I could work my whole life, and not have major problems, but we all know that it may not go that way.
Yeah.
But my biggest thing is I'm going to tell you, live your life. Don't let your diagnosis live your life for you, because you'll miss out on a lot.
I agree. Yeah. And I think what you said about getting in touch with people and just speaking and opening up, because I think that we can shut down. I think that we can get bombarded with all these emotions, especially when we're first diagnosed. We don't really know who to talk to. And we just shut down on ourselves. I never really used to talk to anybody about my MS. And like literally now, I'm like, does anybody want to know about my MS? And I think it's really good to talk. It's great to share it with people, because the more that I share it, the more that you share it, the more that other people start sharing it, we'll just create this big awareness, because my story is totally different to yours. Yours is going to be different to someone else's. And then the more that we create this awareness of MS and how it can affect us, maybe the more that people will understand it a little bit better. And I just think that what people are doing is a great thing.
And that's the biggest thing, is understanding what multiple sclerosis is because, and like I said, people think you just take a pill and you get better like you have a headache. It doesn't go away. And I read something the other day that really did hit me. It said having multiple sclerosis young is like having a stroke for 30 years. And that's true, because it never gets better, per se. It's always there.
It's always there. And I think you're right about living life, because I think if you were to sit down and actually just sit and think, dwell on your MS and dwell about what could happen in the future and what might be, and yeah, it might be, it could be, but for the minute, just live for the moment, just enjoy what you have, I think, for now. But I really appreciate you sharing your story with us. Thank you so much for sharing your time and giving up your time today. And thank you so much. And I wish you all the luck in the future, and hopefully we'll have you back on again in a few months.
Yeah, definitely.
Give us an update on how you're doing.
All right, sounds good.
All right, thanks, Jay. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks, bye.